Well, good afternoon. Um, Today I'm doing something completely different, so bear with me. Um, Recently, I got myself started on a project, but to get to understand, I had a stroke, a few years back. I talked about this, impaired my vision, and even walking out across this lawn at the time, I could fall flat on my face, so I started using walking sticks. Now, this is basically the first iteration of it that I'm was mostly using. Don't like it. It's kind of noisy for going through the woods, that kind of thing. And these things fail you. But anyway, to start out, I wanted to make one, and was in search of ideas. But to get an idea what happened here is, in my search, I came across one that just inspired me, not so much because of what it was currently, but what I saw in a potential. And for those of you that don't know, I'm not just one-dimensional in firearms. I originally had no interest in history in high school, and ultimately had already been introduced to black powder before high school. But again, had no inspiration to be ever any interest in the history aspect of it. For most people my age, they look to two specific movies that inspired them, and the number one was It's a 50 Caliber Hawkins, and Robert Redford in Jeremiah Johnson, loosely based on a character that was much later in history, but nonetheless. And then number two is The Mountain Man, a Charlton Heston movie. And for me, that's not true. For me, it was this little deal right here. Now, Centennial was a mini-series that came through the television. Those days we had two stations that we got under VHF. It was CBS and NBC, and ABC came through on a thing called VHS, where you had to kind of dial in the whatnots. But for me, Centennial was the one that inspired me. And though the exact historical facts are wrong, it was a pretty good parallel. Little things, oddities, where they changed the names to protect the innocent, I guess, or protect the guilty, like the Sand Creek Massacre, is kind of loosely portrayed by a Skimmerhorn of a Colorado militia, where in real life it was a Shivington that was responsible for the events around it. But I'm not going to get too deep into that. But the reason I'm going this way is, as I said, I was inspired to do a walking stick, and I came across a walking stick, and immediately just it inspired me to go. And what got me going was this book, because I eventually did read the book, and this little mini series starts out wrapped around a relationship between Lane Beaver and Pasquinel over counting a coup, where they both had each other's lives in their hand and could have ultimately killed each other, but didn't. And and also turned out to be kind of based around even McKeag and Pasquinel's, where Pasquinel was trying to teach him that you can avoid killing if you treat them with respect, and he was trying to lay that out, and ultimately McKeag didn't understand and got injured, but at the time. But I at this point will reveal the stick and come back. Now this was an eBay find, and the next thing I'm going to do is run you through several historic examples of Native Americans of the Great Plains with coup sticks, some images of modern recreations, I believe, mostly by Native Americans. And a coup stick had no necessarily specific design or length or whatever, because some sticks were no longer than the length of your arm and straight, and some could be taller than a guy sitting in his horse from the foot of the horse up over his head and have a loop to it. So what I'm going to do here, because nobody wants to see me bleed, as a matter of fact, my medicine pouch, if you can't tell, my beadwork is giant because my eyesight, one thing, two, little tiny beads and needles, and nobody wants to sit around listening to me say bad words and bleed. And so I went with bigger beads and still said bad words and bleed. So, and that's the same story with this particular project. It was, to me, a bit complicated. What I had going on up here, you know, like this guy here, and I got it to where I can pull it out. But when I made this pipe, I was kind of in the same boat. I was doing it mostly by feel. And I made this case and the pipe after that stroke, and I just went with it, thinking that when it was done, I would hear that it was time for me to stop. I've revealed it before. If somebody wants me to reveal it again, they can always come back again. But at this point, I'm going to let you guys go and see, like, again, start out with examples of other coup sticks historically and currently, and then just give you little steps by steps of each one as I went along to create it, and at the end I will reveal it. Thank you. So I started a new project, and after the fact, I got to thinking and went, I should be videoing this for progress. But for those that don't know, I'm working specifically on a walking stick for my shortages, as well as a representation, not the best representation, but a representation of a coup stick. Somewhere along the line, I may give you those that also don't know what a coup stick is, I may give you a little heads up later on what it is. But I've already accomplished right across here a braid across from it that I think could be used as a dual purpose, but that's kind of representation of what coup stick used to be fashioned like. And then right here, I see if I can get you a better view of it, but right here at about shoulder length is some buffalo rawhide or bison rawhide that I hydrated and sewed up in here to give me a little bit more heft on the stick for handhold. And eventually I'll put some buffalo leather over the top of that. But I got some definite ideas on how to finish this up, and this is the beginning. And of course, pick this up, see if I can actually, because it's actually got a regular cane type tip at the end of it, which is not historically correct, but for what I'm purposing it for, good start. So I'm just recording a quick update of the new walking stick slash coup stick, and I've mentioned before, I'm just doing updates because previously we started with a bare stick, added a sinew cross there, and this here is bison rawhide, as just to add a little heft here for hand grip. And then here you can see I added a buckskin layer, so I'm going to try to get to where you can kind of see what the heck's going on. And then here, you know, we're at the end of the walking stick, but and of course I haven't trimmed the last of this down here, but this will right here, this is basically a was supposedly, I believe, a dark or a chocolate colored buffalo hide tan, but that's a clue to the next step too as well. But this is so far what I've got accomplished. Step by step, here we go. So another quick update. Wanted to do this in sunshine, but in case you haven't noticed, snow, well, let's do it this way. Snow is gone, and we've had almost nearly a daily dose of rain, to the point that we actually have road closures and evacuations in homes near rivers. We're flooding. So I guess officially our drought's over. Matter of fact, after I get done showing you this, I'm probably going to take a little walk over here to the edge of the hill just to see if my local creek down there is flowing over the road too. Good thing I'm a couple 100 feet over top of water level down there. But anyway, you know, buy a nice expensive piece of property and put it on the river bottom, then be upset that you flood. But anyway, here it is. I want to get to the next step, so here we go. As said before, this is buffalo leather, commercial tan, and of course kind of a chocolate brown, and I sewed it flesh side out for the texture and added a couple pieces of beadwork to it. We'll explain what some of this is all about later, but I wanted to get on to the next step, so there it is. So because of the nature of this walking stick, coup stick, and its length, I'm going to reveal it where I know you're not going to get to see much of it. But here we go. Now, those you don't know, that part of my spirit name is Muckwa for bear. I will tell you that I did not do my own beadwork this time. So these are purchased. And of course the 4 directions. And of course this is buffalo hide. And underneath it is buffalo rawhide to help give it a little bit more heft. And as you can see, it pretty much fits my hand perfectly. The stem is hickory. Let me see if I can get this to stay put long enough to see. Maybe turning it around won't be such a bad plan anyway. But here, I got it turned around. And of course I got my shadow in it, so I may have to do this even at a different angle. But this here is human hair, and no, nobody died from it. This is a lock from my kid when the kid was an infant, and that was on my older medicine bag. And this was a gift from a friend, but human hair and scalps was pretty much a norm. And of course Native Americans often used eagle feathers, and each eagle feather had to do with a specific coup. And again, my shadow's in there, sorry, but there she be. And again, I'm going to see if I can't figure out a way. There we go. To get my shadow the heck out of that. In today's time, where everybody's mad at everybody and whatnot, and talking about less than lethal protection, this kind of fills a little of both for me, as a support for getting around, and if I need to, it's a way of saying I can't coup on you. It just immediately when I saw that stick, this is what I saw. I thank you for your time. And please never forget, and always remember, if you came here wearing your feelings on your sleeves looking to get your butt hurt, well, you probably came to the right place.